What's going on, fellow creatives? My name is Marcus Ray, and welcome to the Marcus Ray Podcast. This is a podcast specifically for music producers and other creatives about pursuing our career in the arts and the challenges that we face pursuing that career, as well as how to overcome those challenges. So, before we start, just make sure to subscribe, like, and do all the things, do all the YouTube things, and all the Instagram things, or wherever you're watching this at. Do all of those things. So, in today's topic, what we're going to be talking about is how to stay motivated when you're not seeing the results that you're used to seeing. So, I have some personal experience in this. I've been pursuing music, outside of school at least for 13 years now. So, yeah, I do have some experience in that. We'll get more into that in a second. But first, what I want to do is I want to kind of shout out uh, mainly the inspiration for this topic, which is a book called War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. So check that out if you haven't yet. It's a really good book. War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. I also want to give a shout out to Jordan Wilson for sharing that book with me. I've had to have listened to this book at least 10 times by now. It's not a long book, but it really is a book that has some like real information that will help you. Also, I want to apologize for my dog. He's in here, and trust me, it's quieter to keep him in here than to keep him out there. So we're just gonna have to deal with it for now, at least for the first episode. We'll figure it out later, but this is just what we're doing for right now. So to start us off, I want to share a quote from the book, and it talks about a force called resistance. And so what this force is I look at it. It talks about different ways that you can look at resistance, but I look at it like something that's impersonal, like gravity or like radio waves or something. It's a universal force that surrounds the planet, but you can't see it, you can't touch it, all that stuff. So in the book, he talks about how this force is the opposite of inspiration. And anyways, let me share the quote. So most of us have two lives: a life we live and the unlived life within us. Gotta move around the mic. In between the two stand resistance. So have you ever felt like you had a calling to do something, and while you're pursuing it, you kind of relax a little bit? So this is what happened to me. Okay, I'm just gonna share what happened to me a little bit. So around 2012 or 2013, I think it was 2013. Um, I had gotten sick. I was real sick. Nobody knew what it was. I was sick. I started losing a bunch of weight. Like, I was throwing up everything I ate. It was honestly really awful. And one of the worst things about it was that in trying to figure out what was wrong, um, one of the doctors was saying that they should do a spinal tap just to make sure it wasn't meningitis. And it wasn't meningitis, because if it was, I would have been dead. But gotta check at least. But that was the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. Awful, awful. Maybe when I had shingles. Maybe those two are tied. It was awful, awful. So anyways, after 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 I had gotten sick, I had gotten better. And my band, the Boombox, we had just put out Pass, our album, Post Apocalyptic Stress Syndrome. And after this time, I had kind of just gotten to a place where like I wasn't not pursuing music, but I was doing I had a lukewarm pursuit, right? So, I would show up to the gigs, we had, um, but I wasn't necessarily looking at it as like this is this is the one thing on this earth I was put here to do. I was looking at it like I can pay my bills. I'm comfortable. What else do I need? And that reminds me, when I was younger and I was kind of figuring out that I wanted to pursue music. One thing I did was I always said I wanted to make a living in music, right? And so I'm doing that now. Like I teach. I make my living mostly teaching, but it is mostly from music. Now, is teaching my calling? I don't know. I don't know. I do enjoy it, but my point is if you're not specific in what your calling is, then you may accomplish what you said you were going to accomplish, but is that really what you want? So for me, I want to write music for a living. I want to produce music. I want to compose. I want to do those things. And teaching is great. I love teaching, but I don't know if it's my calling. So when it comes to your goals, you got to be specific, real specific. Okay. Um, so as far as making this show even goes, I I am the shyest person. You can probably tell by the way I'm talking right now that I'm the shyest person you can ever meet. Um, this isn't a joke. I've been told that. So, but when I look up things about what I need to do to make it possible for me to build a brand, one of those things is starting a show. Getting in front of the camera, talking to you like I'm talking to you now, like just me and you just talking. This is scary. This is scary as hell for me. I'm like, no one's in the room with me, but I know people are gonna see this and people are gonna be like, "Oh, he's got a booger in his nose. I can see it." It's scary. It's scary. And so for the longest time, I knew that this was something I had to do, but I was afraid. I'm still afraid. I'm still afraid to do it. Um, and that's the thing is that resistance feeds off of fear. So it, anything that you're afraid of, resistance is going to tie on to that, and it's going to it's going to add on to the fear that you already feel, and that's something that's going to make most people stop in pursuing whatever they think they're going to do. Um, in the book, it also talks about having like shadow careers. So you know, for me, I think teaching, at least the way I'm teaching now, like in my private lessons, is it's my shadow career, right? It's like I said, like I want to have a career in music, and teaching music is technically a career in music, but it's not exactly what I know my purpose is, which is to write music, right? So that's what resistance does. So let's take a little bit of a deeper dive, like into like what actual resistance is, right? So I in the book, he describes it as like something in mind. He describes it as like there's basically two levels of existence, right? There's the ego and there's the self. So the ego is basically what keeps you alive from day to day. It's I gotta take out the trash, I gotta wash the dishes, I need to go to work so I can earn money to eat. That's what the ego is, and the self is this is like your will and consciousness. This is the higher part of yourself that is about pursuing your purpose in life. So the way it describes it is that from this lower self, from the ego, that's where resistance comes from. So for most people right now, resistance runs the show, and so resistance doesn't like the self, because the self, that's where inspiration comes from, right? That's where you get these ideas, and like whenever you're making music, like you ever just be playing and an idea just comes to you, like something completely different than what you're playing, and you have to stop and go, oh, okay, that idea that I just got, I need to work on that. That's inspiration. That comes from your higher self. And so what happens is, as we start to focus more on our higher selves, more on the inspiration side of it, resistance does not like that. And so what it does is it throws things in your way, to try to stop you from pursuing it. And it's not anything like crazy. The thing is like you won't even know that it hit you, right? Until you're sitting around and you realize, I'm unhappy. I don't know why I'm unhappy, but I'm not happy. And that's what and when you get to that moment, that's when you realize that resistance has you. So most often resistance is in the form of procrastination, but it can be anything. Like it can be, um, like a willingness to self-destruct. It can be, alcohol. You become an alcoholic. You abuse drugs or something. All of those are issues that a lot of people deal with, and it just sounds like life, but really it's resistance. Resistance is so powerful. It's if you're not consciously aware of it, then it's almost like you're just walking around in a dream. You don't have a goal. You're just walking around existing. And so that's the danger of it, is that it's not, you know, resistance isn't going to come out and pull a gun on you and say, you know, don't work on that beat today. What resistance is going to do is going to say, you know, you worked hard today. Well, you worked 8 hours today, and you got up early, and you had to take the kids to school, and you had to pick them up. You had to make sure they had clothes on. So you don't need to make a beat today. You've done enough. You can make a beat tomorrow, and then tomorrow becomes the next day, becomes the next day, becomes a week, becomes the next month, and it snowballs. And that's the thing, is that resistance will resistance will it'll get you, if, even if you take one day off, that's how it'll start to snowball if you don't catch it, right? So that's what resistance is. So let's talk a little bit about how we fight that. So what we do, or what it says in the book to do to fight it, is to turn pro. So what does that mean? What does it mean to turn pro? So that means that you are going to decide that you are going to be more resilient than even resistance is. And so what that means is, when you wake up every morning, you are consciously aware that you are going to feel this feeling, and you are going to choose to fight it every day. So whether your purpose be, to make beats, or to teach, or, um, I don't know, your purpose could be um, to make world peace happen, or it could be to find the cure to cancer. It doesn't matter what your purpose is. Um, the second you start to pursue that, you're going to feel resistance. And so To fight that, yeah, you turn pro. And so you make a conscious decision that every single day you're going to wake up and you're going to fight that feeling. You're going to fight the urge um, to slack off today. You're going to fight the urge to just relax. That's what turning pro is. And the thing about it is that in a lot of areas of our life, we're professionals already, right? Like we're already professionals at our jobs, right? We go to work no matter what. Um, if it's raining outside, if it's snowing, maybe not if it's snowing. We're in Texas, so if it snows in Texas, they shut everything down. But if no matter what, pretty much unless you're sick or you have an emergency, you're going to work, right? But what about your purpose, right? What about making music, right? So um, so if you're not making music every day, or if you're not making music as much as you would like, then resistance probably has you, and you probably need to turn pro. Um, and so when you do this, what you'll start to realize is that you know I feel better. I have more energy to do the things that I to do the things that previously I viewed as work. You know, I just came home from work all day and now I have to make a beat. I don't feel like it. I want to just watch TV. I start to not feel like that because I know if I slip once, I'm gonna continuously slip. And that's how it is, and that's how it's been with my workout plan too. I wake up and the first thing I do is work out, and that's crazy for me. That used to not be me at all, but it's something I started doing. I realized my health was not at a great point, and started working out, and that's what it is. And when you make any of those type of decisions, again, resistance is going to come up, and you just have to you have to make it a habit, and you have to prioritize it over anything. You may have legitimate excuses for not working on music today, but you have to decide: is it important enough, or am I okay with letting this snowball effect happen? There's another book I read recently called The Compound Effect, and in this book it talks about like how small small I guess small increases of habits, whether they're good or bad, have an exponential effect, not a multiplicative effect, but exponential. I think that's what I said the first time, exponential, but it has an exponential effect. So if you let's say you start, you find this candy that you really like, and you know as you come home from work, you get like a little piece of this candy, you know, every day. Well, this piece of candy had 100 calories, and it's a little piece of candy like that. So you have three of them. All right, so that's 300 calories plus 7 nights a week. That's 2,100 calories times four, which I'm not going to do that math, but that's a lot of calories that you're adding by just eating a couple of pieces of candy. So that's what we have to look out for, and that's what resistance does. Is it'll it'll have that exponential effect. If you take a day off, the next day it's going to be twice as hard to do it, right? So you just gotta not allow yourself to even take that day. You gotta be more resilient. Um, um, the real the truth is that it's harder to sit down and make music than it is to actually make music. Sitting down to do it, making yourself do it consistently, that's hard. That takes commitment. And if we're pursuing this professionally, then we have to make that commitment. Um, with this show, that's what I'm doing. I'm making the commitment that y'all are gonna see my face a lot. I don't like this camera at all, at all. I feel awkward. I really feel awkward right now. But y'all are gonna see me. As long as my equipment works, y'all are gonna see me. So that's pretty much all I have for today. So again, if you found anything useful in this video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Um, Thank you again for checking this out, and be blessed.